Every who down in Who Newville liked the holidays a ton. But where to get great prices on gifts, they had no idea. None. They searched and they searched for great gifts under $25. Gifts for spouses and friends and even their toddlers. When suddenly one who shouted, Walmart has what you want, knowing they have Lego, Tree Hut, and no prices to flaunt. So they enjoy the holiday season as who's often do. Cheering and shouting, Walmart has incredible gifts. Who knew? Find gifts they'll love under $25 at Walmart.
My family is a rambunctious party of 5, and living organic is a priority for us. We sleep for 1/3 of our lives. Think about that. So it's important for me to know that my kids aren't breathing in unnecessary chemicals 10 to 12 hours a night. I discovered Naturepedic at a mom conference and have been a believer ever since. They're a company that designs mattresses, pillows, and bedding that are certified organic with numerous awards to prove it. I love the Verse collection, which is 100% GOT certified organic cotton and wool, is free from glues, adhesives, or polyurethane foam, and passes flammability standards without fire retardants or chemical additives. Plus, for my twins, their 2-in-1 transitional kids mattresses were a game changer. Once they were potty trained, we could just flip from the waterproof side to the quilted side. If you're looking for organic sleep essentials for your family, look no further. Shop at naturepedic.com and use my code MOMSENSE to receive 15% off your order. And rest assured, pun intended, you're in good hands. There is no hood like parenthood. Hi, I'm Kanika Chadda-Gupta. I'm a former CNN journalist, mom of 3, including twins, and host of That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast. Now, if I had $1 every time I heard, gee, you have your hands full. On my show, I interview change makers on their life lessons, legacy, and superpower of intuition, which I call our Mom Sense and Dad Sense. I've had the privilege of working with Mom 2.0, March of Dimes, and the White House, and have had some pretty amazing parents on my show.
Hey, what's up? I'm Kelly Rowland.
Hi, this is Chelsea Clinton.
It's me, Bobby Brown. Can't wait to share my story.
That's Total Mom Sense is a production of the Evergreen Podcast Network. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube so you never miss an episode. To join my tribe, visit that'stotalmomsense.com and follow me on Instagram at Kanika Chadda-Gupta. Now let's dive into today's episode.
So I have this privilege up here to introduce my really good friend, soul sister, and she has a podcast. It's called That's Total Mom Sense. She is Kanika Chadda-Gupta, and a television journalist, former CNN anchor, podcast host, and mom of 3, including the twins. She hosts that popular podcast, That's Total Mom Sense, where she interviews public figures on their life lessons and legacy. We're so happy to have you at Loopwell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're the best. Thank you, Kanan. Thank you. Thank you so much for welcoming me and all of us. You're the reason why I know about Loopwell, and I'm so happy that we have our sisterhood.
You're welcome.
Thank you to Karina and Kanan for this morning. You transported us. I was like, am I in Bali? Am I in Vrindavan? And hearing the waves and the chimes, it was really, really visceral and so meaningful. So thanks so much for that. So as Kanan mentioned, my name is Kanika. I have a show called That's Total Mom Sense. And this is actually a taping. So Sean, thank you. That's why we have all the audio set up. And I'm so excited to introduce my guest, Deb Looney. And before we get into it, I just want you all to just share, how do you feel being in this space? Just share all the adjectives that come to mind. Peaceful, present, calm, transported. Amazing. See the ripple effect that you created by making this space. It's really, really beautiful. So I got my start, as Kanan mentioned, at CNN, but I want to just talk about the evolution because we're here in community and I want everyone to just feel this. Growing up, I was the classic overachiever, type A person. And my aunt, who was visiting from India last week, was like, I can't believe you went from that I had a little wild child. If Kevin Little was on, you would see me dancing on that table in me. And then now it's like I'm just this Mother India with 3 kids running around me all the time. And I can't say enough how much I appreciate this evolution that we go through. Cheer if you agree that the community that we have in this chapter of our lives sustains us. It's so, so important. And so now I'm honored to bring up this community builder, Deb Looney. Yeah. So Deb is a former advertising executive who was extremely successful in the corporate world, and now she's in the wellness world, and she's taking that by storm with this space and all the curated events that she's bringing to fore here. So thank you so much for doing this for us.
I know. Thank you for coming, everyone. And I hope we didn't shoehorn this little thing in here because we want you to enjoy your time at this wellness retreat. But I know that Kanika, she's such an advocate for women and women's health, and I feel like we have so much to learn from her, and I think she wanted to ask me questions about why I built this community and what we're trying to do here. So, we kind of said, let's just sit down and have this part of our little women's circle, and we want everybody to be included, to chime in, because we want to build this community together, right? So it's not about just my vision, but what do you need? What do you want? And we've been doing this for about 2 years now, and we're kind of beta testing it. We've been listening to everybody. What do you really need, and what do you really want? And community and social, like the classes are great, and cooking, and that's all great. But the most important thing that everyone keeps saying to me is, I just want to come here. Can I just come here? Can I just belong here? Is there a membership? Can I just come whenever I want? And we are building that, and we will have open hours because people do want to come with their own. We're going to be creating these little inner loops soon, which is these little cohorts, because the moms want to be together and they want to share. And then we have business women that want to, and then we have the foodies. So we will have these little inner loops in our Loopwell, so you can share and commune with your people, find your tribe, but within the bigger loop. So that will be coming, and that all came from learning for this past year of what people really want. So please make this a sharing time as well. While Kanika digs down deep into my soul. I don't know. What are you going to ask me?
Yes. I always love to set the stage with, your childhood and your upbringing, because as we learn in yoga too, we do have to channel that inner child and speak to her. So tell us about your upbringing.
So my father came from Syria when he was 10, and he fled. Yeah, he's Catholic, Christian, and obviously at the time with all the turmoil, they fled here when he was 10 years old. So that was interesting. I grew up with a very warm, loving Middle Eastern culture. I love all the food, my grandparents, and it was very instilled in me at a very age, and family is very important to me from that culture. So my dad married someone from Long Island, my parents, we grew up in Long Island, and sadly, I had not a great childhood. I have some of my really close friends here in the audience somewhere. So 2 parents, alcoholics, and divorce. Not a great childhood, but I somehow kind of survived and just kind of plowed through it. And I've always was the person. There'd be chaos at my house. I can't believe I'm going to really share this publicly. There would be, police at my house, a lot of fighting, when you have 2 alcoholic parents. And, I would just, get up and, go to school the next day, put my backpack on, and just be like, hey guys, what are we doing? We're roller skating this weekend? I use this method through my whole life, whether it's, having kids or dealing with autoimmune or depression or all these stages in my life, being let go. I always kind of just said, I just got to keep going. And so my childhood, I just always was positive, and I just kept going. I just didn't want it to identify me. So I would go to school and be like, no, that's not my life. That's not my family. I just kind of pretended, fake it till you make it. I really took it to an extreme, but it worked for me, So I kind of got through all that. And I have one brother, and we're really tight because you go through something like that. But I learned a lot. I had to survive. So at 11, my parents got divorced, and I lived with my dad. It was like, back then, it was a real Kramer versus Kramer deal. And my father got custody because he straightened up, and he stopped drinking.
Wow.
So he became like the mom, the dad, and he took care of us. So my brother and I, who lived with my father. And so I became like a mom, literally at 11. I was cooking, cleaning, doing laundry. I would make meatloaf and scrambled eggs, and we went to buy furniture, and here I am with my dad. We went to Sears, and I remember buying a blue velvet couch with white polka dots because I could pick whatever I wanted. That was our living room furniture for like 10 years. So people see me doing all my things that I do. I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm organizing, but I've been doing this for a really long time. Like, it was started in survival mode, but then it became like an instinct. Like, I love doing it. I love taking care of people. I love making people feel welcome. And I guess I had a little early practice, So got through all that, and then, just kept going on. And I kind of used that base of survival, and I had to pull that tool out many times in my life. And sometimes they say, like, having trauma, grief, struggle as a child can have you be stronger later in life. And I'm sure I see a lot of people shaking their heads. So Everybody's had their things, and I just pulled that out, and I've used it for my whole life. So I haven't really shared that too much. So that was my,
Thank you for being so vulnerable. And I think adversity really is our best teacher, and you had to parent yourself. How many of you feel, just by a show of hands, feel seen by the fact that she opened up like this? And it's like, we've had to go through some struggles in life. Everyone has been through some shit, and that's what teaches you, and it just makes sense how you created this for everyone around you now, because you have been doing it from such a pivotal, ripe young age. It's amazing. And thanks so much for opening up. Okay, so now let's go into your career path. What, led you down into advertising, and, what kind of piqued your curiosity to pursue it?
So I was a design major I went to SUNY New Paltz. I'm very proud of my school, and it's very crunchy, granola, artsy, and we had a great time. Luckily, I kind of got out of that dark cloud as a child, and I had a great later teenage life, and just middle class Long Island. Had a great time as a young teenager. Amazing friends that I still have to this day. I have friends for 40 years, 30 years, because I didn't have a sister. So I've had, my college friends were my sisters, my home friends are my sisters, and now I have new sisters here. I always really tend to find people, and I kind of go to my next stages of life, and I kind of just, they go with me. I meet people that, they don't have certain groups or people, and I often, wonder, why did that happen? Why didn't they take the people with them? Or, everyone has different experiences, So I feel that here, a lot of people are meeting each other, and they're exchanging numbers, and they're starting businesses together. So it's really nice, because I feel like what I've been doing my whole life, it was nice to bring that here, and I see that really happening with a lot of women. So got into advertising, and great career, had a lot of fun. And then somewhere down the line, it just didn't serve me anymore. If I can jump ahead,
please,
to how this came about, maybe, I suppose, if that's the next kind of question.
Yes, it is. Yeah. How did you change into wellness?
So advertising is, as you know, it's, a lot of materialism, a lot of selling, and it was great. It was fun. I was able to be creative. And then 3 kids, which is as we are all learning and knowing how it's physical trauma, literally, like that's a whole thing that's not really being discussed. Physical trauma, emotional, mental, it's a lot. And I've always worked, right? So we started our own advertising agency, and I was working until midnight, getting up, breastfeeding through the night, and then working at 7, 8 o'clock back on the computer again. It was a lot. So I definitely did not really take care of myself during that time. And I always, when I see people who are pregnant or women with young kids, I'm always like, you need to take care of yourself because it's going to catch up to you, right? The body keeps score. So definitely I burnt the candle on both ends, and I just kept going and going. And it was a lot. And then I was actually diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, which was ankylosing spondylitis, which is my immune system's just overactive. It's like hyperactive, and it's like fighting myself, right? So I've had to deal with that. That's a whole other long story, but dealing with that, working, getting burnt out. At 50 years old, I just crashed, burned myself out. My husband had found me on the bathroom floor, and I literally was exhausted from just everything. And I've never really experienced depression, really, which is crazy thinking about my childhood.
Yes.
But I really did, I never went to therapy as a child. I was never on medication. And somehow, I used that mindset to just get me through it. So I'm 50 years old, and I'm experiencing depression really for the first time. There's a couple of boyfriend heartbreaks. I probably had a little of that. And I found myself completely having an outer body experience. And a lot of the things that I'm learning now with menopause, by the way, because a lot of people struggle with these things. And now I'm realizing that has a lot to do with it, which I'm putting these pieces together 7 years later. But back then it was what is happening to me? I can't think straight. And I remember I was having panic attacks. And I think I had told this story a few times, but I was having a heart attack. I thought I was having a heart attack. My heart's going, if anybody's ever had panic attacks, but I didn't know. So my heart's going, I'm dying, I'm in the middle of a concert, I'm at my son's concert, and we get in, it's crowded, and all of a sudden my heart is just pounding, I can't breathe, I had to leave. The ambulance comes, I go to the hospital, he's with me, I'm dying, I'm having a heart attack, I'm having a stroke, and we go in, and the nurse, they kept me overnight, they did all the tests, and she says, oh, is it okay for the doctor to talk freely in front of anybody that's here? And I'm like, yeah, whatever, it's just my husband. And so she puts a smiley face on the board saying it's okay for the doctor to come in. So we spend the night. The next morning, my in-laws come to visit me in the hospital, which I'm not sure why they did. I guess they thought I was dying. Yeah. And of course, they're there right when the doctor comes in. And, it was a woman too. She comes in and says, great news. We did all the tests and there's nothing wrong with you.
Oh, you want some answer.
But I'm going to give you some antidepressants, and I think that you should make an appointment with a psychiatrist. She's saying all this in front of my in-laws. I was mortified. I was just oh my God. And now, 7 years later, I'm like, shame on that doctor.
Yes.
I mean, doesn't take in the information.
Girl code.
50, 3 kids working. I'm in the ripe age of perimenopause, and doesn't just pull me aside and say, look, I'm pretty sure you're entering the stage, this, that, and whatever. Nothing. Just leaves me out there to dry. Just leave me to hang. And now I'm learning, because we've been here to some of these menopause events, and this movement, you're hearing these from Dr. Sharon Malone and amazing doctors that are saying that's ridiculous, and doctors, shame on them for doing that. So now I'm calling them out and they're learning. So at that moment, I kind of realized, you crash and burn, in the darkness you see the light. I really did. I said, okay, what am I doing with my life? I need to, I kind of sounds cliche, but I found my purpose, right? Of I want to do something more meaningful. I have all this history of I think I could help women. I found myself, because of learning how to take care of myself with acupuncture and yoga, from my own autoimmune, through my own struggles in my life, I found myself talking to a lot of women at like cocktail parties, and they'd be like, I have this pain, or my gut, what is leaky gut? What is all this stuff? And I found myself talking to people, and I'm not a doctor. I'm like the least certified person in my staff. And I found myself like helping people, and I thought, okay, well, I feel like there's a need and there's a void. And right after COVID, it was very obvious that people really needed. And I said, we have amazing doctors and people just locally, like, why don't we just get together? So I just kind of had this idea that we should have this educational space, this community space for learning, for experiencing in person, because everything is just, was and is still online, digital platforms, and people really need to come together, and you'll see the magic of it when you're here. So the vision just kind of came about to create this space. We are all inclusive, but we are majority of our market and our people here and our members are women. We're very, very passionate about women's health. So a lot of our programming moving forward will be for that, because I have all this history and baggage now that all of that. So that kind of where it came to be, and we're still evolving. So obviously any feedback we'll take.
At That's Total Mom Sense, we celebrate family, culture, and the everyday moments that matter most. And that's why I trust Lexus. Their cars are designed to make every journey unforgettable. This AAPI Heritage Month and beyond, Lexus honors the strength and stories of our community. Because when luxury meets legacy, the standard is amazing. Head to Lexus.com and follow Lexus USA on social media to find your next adventure.
Thank you for taking any pain that you went through, be it physical or emotional or mental, and then turning it into your purpose. That's amazing. And we're all the beneficiaries of that, and you're a beacon. So thank you. We spoke about this during our event that we had with Neha Ruch and the Power Pause, because if you haven't heard of her book, she's kind of starting a new movement of those women who decide to take a pause or a pivot to lean into family life, because motherhood is its own reckoning. And you were someone who was a mediator between the stay-at-home moms and then at that time, those who would be in the workforce. And I love that you have that integrated into the ethos of what Loopwell is and the businesses that you've created, because there is girl-on-girl crime, and we shouldn't have that animosity amongst women at all. So tell us about that.
So because I had my own business, I was able to, I always had one foot in working, but then I was always like at all the mom events and went to everything, the parades and everything. So I hung with, the working moms and the working women. And then I always hung with the stay-at-home moms. And I was always kind of like, they were always, sadly, they were always kind of like talking about each other, right? Like the working moms and the working women were like, let them do it. They're not doing anything. And then the stay-at-home moms were like, they never volunteer. They don't do anything. So it was kind of like, they kind of confided in me, like I was like in their group. And I was always very obviously supportive of both groups, because it's a choice, and also to maybe not have kids, and everyone has a choice, and women need to support each other, whatever place you're at, for sure. Like, we need to be advocates and empower each other no matter where you are, right? So we have all different ages here and all different people here. I always felt attached in many different groups. I have a lot of friends who don't have children, and I feel I'm attached to different groups, and I find that to be more comforting. I don't like to really kind of take one stance on one place or another. But I do have children, so I kind of like have to fall in that category, and I've learned a lot from them, and I love what you're doing, and I love what Neha is doing to give everybody their place of what they want, where they want to be. And Neha is in a place where women have decided to stay home, and it's okay. It doesn't mean you can't stop you're stopping your career. It doesn't mean you're stopping your life, because a lot of women feel that way. So I love all these different groups, all the different voices, all the different podcasts that are really empowering and giving a voice to all the groups. It's okay, you know what I mean? Because we all need to lift each other up. So I love what she's doing, and I love what you're doing. And we have a lot of women here that are starting new businesses and just really giving confidence to all different, women in their different stages. So
absolutely. I think we can really be this and the fact that we have these hybrid models and work from home culture, and the fact that you can really just lean into it's that sweet spot in the Venn diagram of what you're good at and what you love, and then start. Your card today was take the first step. You took the first step when you started this, and it's definitely scary and, just kind of stepping into the unknown. But look at the beauty you can create when you do it, when you take that first step. Tell us about your mom sense moment. And that's a moment that you just trusted your intuition. And I want to bring it back to what Karina and Kanan had said. For me, I call it mom sense, but intuition is also your third eye. I feel like it's that inner knowing that you have to lean into, and it's amazing when you use that as your guiding light, because somehow you feel protected. You're like, I know exactly what to do right now. And it's the most fascinating thing. So when did you trust that inner knowing?
There's so many different times.
So many, but, obviously.
But I thought of something when we were talking about when I was raising my kids from my history and from my background, and probably everybody can look at their childhood and you could pick, I'm sure, a few things from your childhood that you brought into with your kids. But I do remember, so when I lived with my friends, we had an apartment in the city. A lot of my friends had wonderful childhood. They had their beautiful, wonderful parents, loving parents, mothers who cooked for them every day. They never had to learn how to cook, clean their rooms, did their laundry. So, when I was younger, I was, sort of jealous of it. But then I realized my roommates that I was living with did not know how to do anything. They were helpless. I was cooking for them. They didn't know how to do anything. And I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to do that. So even though my daughter and my kids grew up in a loving household, pretty much, right? I made them, my mom sense was like, oh, no, you're going to live in this house like you're surviving like I did. Yes. And I taught them at a very young age how to cook, how to clean, how to survive. Because a lot of kids, when you are growing up in a really nice household, it's wonderful, but you actually become so dependent that you become not really capable of actually taking care of yourself. And I kind of learned that when I lived with my friends, and I thought, okay, I don't want my kids to grow up like that. So my mom sense was to make them very independent at a young age because of my example. But if I didn't have that, then I don't know, I guess the pattern just keeps trickling. But my kids now can whip up, a whole dinner and entertain. And my daughter does actually very similar things that I do. And my boys can cook, and they really can take care of themselves. You could do it with your husbands, you could do it with your roommates, you could do it with your pets. They gotta be independent and take care of themselves. So I always think of things as collaborating. Even like here, I don't have employees. We are together. We are a team. We're taking care of each other. We're helping each other. I never think of that way. So in a household or in an apartment or your roommates, it's always a team. You always have to create that, because otherwise, even here, I feel so uncomfortable just being here. I want to be over there, getting, pouring the tea and taking the pictures. And I want, Nancy to be up here because I want to hear from you and I want you to be a part of it. So this might be bringing us to the end of my section. So maybe then I can go back to my cleaning.
That's beautiful. I love that. And I think it's so important that we get everybody involved. Everyone has some skin in the game when you do that. And we do that with my family too.
It's like a team, I mean, I played sports and my kids always played sports. So I feel that I love that team camaraderie. I've always grown up with it. So I kind of brought that with me.
Yes.
To every job I ever had. And even here, it's like we're on a team.
Yes.
Right? So,
and we go together. That's brilliant. I love it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of That's Total Mom Sense. You can listen to the audio version wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for That's Total Mom Sense. You can learn more about my guests by logging on to www.thatstotalmomsense.com. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, where I'm most active on social media. My handle is @KanikaChadda-Gupta. And if you have ideas for show topics or guests you can't wait to have on the show, write to me at thatstotalmomsense@gmail.com. And lastly, please rate, review, and subscribe to That's Total Mom Sense if you haven't already. Thanks for being in my tribe.